Hello, this is Mohammed Sajjatul. Me along with my five other co-authors, Yuan Ka, Zilongji, Jiancheng, Adam Ahmed Qaid Mohammed, Yongsheng Sang. On behalf of them, I would like to give a special thanks to all the distinguished members of this conference committee, all the reviewers who gave their precious times to review our article, and I would like to thank everybody for giving me the chance to introduce my idea, our idea, to the research community. Thank you, everyone. Okay, let's start our research work. The title of our article is a 3D CNN-backed Conv-LSTM autoencoder for microfacial expression video recognition. So first, I would like to introduce about the problem statements. There's the facial microexpression discloses true mental state unconsciously while someone is trying to obscure them inadvertently in high-stakes situations. So we have mentioned some challenges that we have found from the literature. This transient time lasts for less than 1/5 seconds and diminishes under cover of ordinary active facial expressions. It has a very long low intensity due to the tiny movements of facial muscles. It is challenging to create a high-stakes situation in a controlled environment and generate micro-expression voluntarily against its spontaneous nature. So it's quite difficult to generate such type of expressions in controlled or lab setup. This reasons impede the real-time implementation of the image recognition from publicly available micro-expression dataset, COSME2, COSME Square, that contains macro and micro-expressions in a SMAC and SAM. So it's very important as it gives us the key for live deceitful behavior. Though there are only 5 spontaneous publicly available image dataset, all of them have smaller size of samples, a fewer number of video samples in the micro expression that gives the actually challenge to train the deep learning model. Facial action coding system we have considered as it removes the biases from the self-report or annotations. And despite all of these challenges, micro expression recognition has gained momentum in the computer vision community in the last few years due to some inescapable practical implications as business, deal negotiation, psychoanalysis, forensic investigation, and homeland securities. These are the practical implications of microexpression recognition or classification. Main objectives. Actually, we need to design or develop an integrated data set from the 3 benchmark microexpression datasets for transfer learning, and to construct the integrated or aggregated dataset from 5 publicly available microexpression dataset. These are also benchmark datasets for the AMI. And we proposed a model. We need to propose the model for microexpression recognition based on the 3D CNN 18 residual network and Conv-LSTM autoencoder 212 configuration. And we have used the transfer learning, and we need to evaluate the model using 2 validation strategies. One is the leave one subject out CV, and other one is stratified 5-fold CV, actually to remove the bias of the model to the classes with high samples. These are our contributions. We just proposed an approach with the model based on the 3D CNN and the LSTM autoencoder, and backed by the suppose aggressive summarization with the structural regularization. Macro to micro transfer learning, these are our another contribution, and construction of composite ME data set with the 3 classes samples. Actually, we categorize the anger, disgust, and sadness into negative class, and happiness is the positive, and surprise for the surprise. And we use 2 evaluation, especially based on the 2 cross validation technology technique, loss and stratified 5-fold, and that gives us the state-of-the-art accuracy, especially based on our model and our design technique. So this is how actually the recognition pipeline. We just pre-process the video frames, especially the face alignment, face cropping, and resizing, normalizations. This sort of actually pre-processing techniques we have used based on the deep learning face alignment network and single shot invariant independent STFT algorithm. So after this pre-processing, we just make the video sequence equal length, especially for the macro expression. It's 12, the 12 frames video frame, and all the video frame paired with the last frame. So we batch the frame with 16 number of videos, and it's fed into our model to extract the spatio-temporal features from the 3D CNN, and from the 3D CNN, spatio-temporal high-level features fed into the LSTM network autoencoder. That autoencoder denies the respective features, and it actually fine-grained the granular details, especially the high-level details, into the three-class classifications. After that, we just fed into the 3D CNN layer to convert the regressive values to the class level values, and after that we fed into the softmax classifier to give us the three-level predictions: negative, positive, and surprising. This is the analytical equations for the LSTM cell with 2D convolutions. As we are dealing with the images in the video, so we had to introduce the convolution operation, 2D convolution operation inside the cell for the input, for the gate, and for the current state, and for the output, and for the hidden state. Besides this convolution operations, we have some Hadamard product, that means point-to-point multiplications. So this is the model architecture of our proposed model. So here we just fed into the image sequence after the pre-processing, and this is the batch of videos or image sequences into the 3D raster, and we use the batch normalization ReLO as the nonlinear activation function, and fed into this summarized actually the high-level features into a tensor of 5 dimensions, and fed into the LSTM convolutional network autoencoder with two layers, two LSTM layers for cells for the encoding, and one layer that gives us the encoded vector from the encoder, and this encoded vector fed into the LSTM decoder with the two LSTM cells, and this LSTM cells gives us the stacked. This decoder LSTM cells gives us the stacked edge hidden output, and we fed into the 3D convolutional network with the kernel size 133, and that gives us the class level values, relevant values, and after that we use the structural regularizer, then softmax classifier, then 3 class levels. So these are the metrics and loss functions. We used the cross entropy loss as we have the samples for multiple class, and these are the imbalanced sample, so that's why we use the cross entropy loss. And these are the standard accuracy, unweighted average recall, and weighted average F1 score to evaluate the model. Macro and micro data set organized. As we use the transfer learning for domain shifting, domain adaptability, as we have the fewer samples, a smaller number of samples in the micro expression data set. So these are the organizations of our macro expression data set for the transfer learning, before augmentation and after the augmentation. And this is for the micro expression video samples for our target evaluation, and SMAKE, CASP, and this before the augmentation, after the augmentation. So it is quite few actually. After the augmentation, we got some increasing number of samples. Multiple properties of target. Actually, we have used 5 data sets. So that introduces another challenge. There's the domain shifting challenge for their disparate attributes in the individual data set with respect to the spatial resolutions, temporal frequencies, ethnicities, and with respect to their suppose the occasions or any other properties, illumination conditions, different age groups, blah blah. So experimental settings. So actually this is the implementation. Experimental settings. So we use the 12 frames in each video and 64 batch size, and initial rate for 0.001 for the transfer learning, and this reduced to the increased to the 0.001 for the target AMI data set. So this is the dimension of the samples transfer. So we use the PyTorch framework to encode this one. This is the model evaluations for the transfer learning. We use the holdout evaluations for 80/20. We got this confusion matrix from the 3 macro expression data set. Negative, positive surprise, quite high number, and the negative one 100%. This is the 94%, 92%. These 2 metrics for the actually lossy and stratified 5-fold composite samples. And for the lossy, we got the 98% for negative, 96% for the positive, and 97% for the surprise. That's quite high. And this for the stratified fold, 98, 96, and 99 respectively. The graphs, we got some asymptotic start as because of the transfer learning. It's started from the about 30% and it's about 40%. So we got some drifting initially. After the drifting, we got the steady output from the model, especially for these 3 metrics, performance metrics. So this drifting introduced as because of the domain shifting of the 5 data sets initially. So after the epochs, especially after the 40 epochs, here after the 15 epochs, we got the steady output. So the model has been generalized after these epochs. Results, we got these results. Actually, we try to compare the result with the Apex frames CapsuleNet. Based on the Apex frames, they used these 3 data set, and based on loss, they got this accuracy. RCN, they use these data sets. Our model use 5 data sets. As so far I know, this is the first attempt to use the 5 publicly available macro expression data set to combat the existing challenges as well as the domain shifting challenges. So this reduces the actually the overfitting problem. So you got quite high accuracy for all 3 metrics under this 2 strategy, cross validation strategy. So conclusions, our work has proposed a method and model for AMI recognition and composite, this one, and to the best one is the fast attempt for AMI recognition of 5 AMI datasets. 2 existing cross validation loss and 5-fold have been experimented on the composite dataset. And from our evaluation, it is evident the model is generalized. As we have seen, we got the stable confusion matrix for all 3 class categories, and we got the steady output from after the 40 and the 15 epochs for the lossy and for the stratified 5-fold cross validation as well. Actually, that breaks the biasness of the model to a specific class with the higher samples. To reduce or alleviate the overfitting, actually we have used some regularization techniques. We have used suppose early stopping technique for the 8 consecutive epochs. We have used the structural regularization technique. We have used the weighted random sampler to calculate the class weights, so that it can suppose batch the equal number of a similar number of samples from each category, so that reduce the biasness of the model. In future, we try to expand our task based on the generation or construction of data sets that contains the AMI samples in the wild. So actually from now it's absent. This such of data set are absent. So we'll try to build such type of data sets and to evaluate the model on those data sets. These are the references. So you are welcome to give your positive feedback to improve our contributions and to contribute more to the research community, especially in this domain. Thank you very much for your patience to listeners. Thank you.